Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Dan Hendriksen here. We're at Ashbury Golf Resort today, and as you can see behind me, it's very wet. So we've decided to come to Lee's studio to do a little compare for you. Don't forget, if you like what you're seeing from this channel, to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, always leave a comment, and let's catch up with Lee to see which clubs we're comparing today. Lee, a big thank you again for allowing us up to the beautiful Ashbury Resort and your wonderful studio. What have you got in your hands?
So I have got, and I'm calling it now, the two best-selling irons of 2021.
Do you think so?
Definitely. 100%, that's my prediction. It's the P790, always a top seller for TaylorMade, and it's the new T200 from Titleist.
So I've hit the T200. I've never even seen the new P790, so this is going to be a good one for me today.
I think you're in for a treat, Dan.
So I've obviously not reviewed, I've reviewed the T200, but tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about both of them then.
Okay, so we'll start with the P790. Not a lot changes with the technology when it comes to the P790, so you've still got the speed pocket underneath, which is there designed to give you better ball speed and launch from lower strikes. We've got tungsten weighting in the heel, and we've also got tungsten weighting at the bottom as well, which is there to aid ball launch. And as is always synonymous with the P790, we've got that amazing speed foam, because it is a hollow body design. So it's speed foam injected, and that's there to aid the acoustics, but also designed to give you a little bit better ball speed as well.
Okay. We will, obviously I've done a review on the T200, so people can go and have a little look at that, can't they? They can
so we'll
go
put
and
a
have
little
link up there, and it will tell you all about the T200 and specs on it and everything like that.
Exactly
so,
that.
What's the plan today?
So we're going to put them head to head, we're going to hit a series of shots with each one, and just see which one we think feels, sounds, performs the best for us.
P790 to start with then. I mean, for me, looking down at this club, very, very similar to the previous models of P790. Maybe just a slight difference in the colouring from looking down at it. And you've kind of got this matte, kind of dull kind of finish, very similar to what I would call like the hydro pearl finish that you see on ping irons. Thickish top line, pretty much what you would expect to see, kind of flattened down, but they have tried to roll off the back edge a little bit just to try and get a little bit of a nicer sort of look as you look down on the club. But the actual, look of the head is compact. It's not overly big, which is kind of this type of model is designed, it's trying to get in the eye of the good player, but give that good player also a little bit of forgiveness. So what I would expect to see from this look, not overly offset either. So all in all, looking down, I'm actually really quite happy with it. It kind of ticks a lot of the boxes of what I would like to see from a club. Probably a fraction chunky on the top line, but the rest of the club looks really, really quite nice. Now I'm expecting to get quite a lot of power balls out of these with very low spin, is my expectations. Feel off the face, probably slightly low, and I've only just spotted that on the quad, that I've caught it down the bottom of the club, but I didn't feel like I did, and that's kind of what you expect from these clubs. I'm not expecting a great amount of feedback, whereas if I had a set of blades, I would tell you pretty much where I've hit it on the face, whereas I think with these types of clubs where they've got a little bit of hollow construction, you're getting a different acoustic, a different sound, which in turn leads to feel as well. And for that shot there, felt really nice, but actually a lot lower in the face. With my set of clubs as a set of blades, I would have really felt that shuddering up the club. Didn't get that with this iron. Again, a little bit low in the face from what I'm seeing down there at quad, and actually that time just a smidgen in the toe, but I felt nothing. Both the strikes that I've just shown you now have been a little bit low in the face, one slightly different more in the toe area, but I'm feeling the same feel. And I gotta say, that in one way is a good thing that I'm getting good feel off of it, but on the same scale is I do want some more feedback from this. But overall, first impressions, very impressed. Hear that noise, Lee?
I do, yeah.
Now, I've just noticed it when I've dragged the ball in, so I've just pulled the ball in and it's made like a really tinny, hollowy sound in the back of the club. And instantly, for someone like me, I'm a bit of a I like to pick at things like that. If something feels like it's a little bit loose, which it isn't, it's just that hollow construction. They've obviously put something over the back there just to cover it, but it's quite tinny. Visuals looking down at the ball then with the T200 are almost identical to what I'm seeing in the actual P790 from a profile point of view. Both very similar in the looks, as in the size of the head. Both very, very similar on this top line, but the big difference between the two of them is that this has got a bit more of a chrome finish around the outside, whereas the P790 more of a duller sort of matte finish around the outside. I'm not probably, if anything, I would go more towards this look, just because I'm more of a traditionalist and it looks very similar to what I'm currently using in the bag. So I do like probably the look of this more so than probably the P790, but to be honest with you, there's not a lot of difference between them. I could literally have hit the same club there. Just the visuals of it looking down, again, just a little bit lower than centre, so not as low in the strike as what I got out of the P790, but the same feedback. They feel identical. Acoustics-wise, they sound the same. I'm not really seeing a great deal of difference between these two in the initial strike performance of these clubs. My numbers then, Lee?
Yeah, pretty good numbers to be honest. So T200 at the top, P790 at the bottom. Ball speed a little bit faster with the P790 at 117 instead of 115. Launch angle identical,
yeah.
And standard deviations pretty identical as well, so pretty good. Spin, arguably maybe a little bit too high for a 7-iron.
I can't believe how high they are.
Yeah, considering the loft as well, because there's 30.5 with the P790, 31 with the T200. Effectively a 6-iron in our sets. That's good and bad in that it's too much spin for you, but it's good that the club allows that much spin for the loft.
Yeah.
And then average carry 157, 161, so an extra 4 yards and a bit of a tighter deviation with the P790. P790 peaks out a little bit higher as well, but all in all a pretty good dispersion as well. I think you hit them really well. So if we look at the club data then, efficiency a little bit more efficient with the P790. Head speed, take the deviations into account, it's exactly the same. Loft as well, dynamic loft, 1 degree more, well half a degree more with the T200. There's half a degree difference in the loft, so it's explainable. Strike locations a little bit low with the T200.
Both low, so both spinning more because they're low, I suppose.
Yeah, so that's where the spin
didn't feel low.
They didn't sound low either.
No.
But yeah, both low, so let's just pick the spin up for you. But all in all, a pretty consistent set of numbers for you. So P790 to start, Dan. I was never a fan of the previous models of P790. I had the very first incumbent, didn't like them, got rid of them very quickly. However, this one I think visually looks superb.
And what is the big difference? Because I can't remember the look of the old one, to be fair with you, but...
Boom!
Oh, you've got it in your pocket. So
there it is.
Okay, so it's very similar in the bottom parts here. This top bit, look, tell me what I'm looking at. What am I saying is going to be
basically, if the difference is obviously the P790 is here in the middle, there's this matte bit going into chrome, whereas now it's more matte, and then there's just this chrome section at the back. As a shape, you don't really see a great deal of difference,
no.
But the way you see the difference now is the way it blends into the set, and that's how it visually blends in with the P770.
Oh, okay, so you can get a bit more of a comboing going on.
So you look at the sort of the P770 and now the P790, they're very similar in their shape and look. The P770 does come in, it is chrome, whereas this is matte, but when you're looking at it as a bag, the P790 is no longer a standalone product. It blends really well with the rest of the series, and I think that's why they've changed it. And as a preference, I prefer the look of this to the old P790. I think this just looks classy now, whereas before I just didn't feel it.
No, okay. Is it as good looking down at the ball then, Lee?
It is good. I mean, now I've gone to a blade, the offset does put me off.
Okay.
And it does make me feel, offset now makes me feel like I can go left a lot more.
Yeah.
So I don't like the offset, but as a standalone club for something in this bracket, it looks superb. It's not overly big in its profile. The top line's thick to what I'm used to, but it's not thick compared to some.
Yeah.
I think it's just a spectacular looking iron. I think I definitely think the changes are very welcome and better
yeah.
when it comes to the look of it. And the feel, it just feels phenomenal. It feels so good. The only downside to the feel is I've literally no idea where I hit it.
Yeah, well, same as me, yeah.
It felt like I hit it out the middle. If I look at the quad, it said I hit it in the low toe. But I would never have picked that. That felt like I'd middled that. And if you'd have asked me straight after the shot, I'd been like, yeah, bottomed it. And that's my biggest problem when it comes to hollow bodied designs, is they feel great, but the feedback isn't great with it.
And now the T200.
So T200 down on the ball and looking at it this way, definitely looks more traditional, like you said, as an iron with the matte finish on the face, but then chrome on the sides. And I prefer that look to look down at. You picked up on this. Yeah. For me, that's not very Titleist. No. Titleist has always been like a brand that oozes class and quality, and it's kind of had that, it's expensive because it's a Titleist aura around it. That isn't very Titleist for me. I think it's cheap, tacky, and that, like you say, I don't understand. Yeah. It's just, I think when you compare it to the last T200, that looks so much better than this one.
I mean, there'll be a reason behind it, probably to do with weight saving.
Yeah.
So being able to use less weight in the back frame, or more weight in the back frame, distributing it round, and then having just a plate that sits over and making it as thin as possible, possibly. But you're right, it more probably could have been done if we've both picked up on it. Then, and I know other people have picked up on it, people I've spoken to. So, you know, is it a negative?
Yeah. I mean, we don't know what
it is.
We don't know what it looks like behind that. But I just think they could have made it more Titleist. The old T200 felt solid. That doesn't, and it just doesn't feel Titleist to me. Sound and feel wise, like you just cannot separate them. I think indoors this is a little bit clickier, but I know from my own testing outdoors you don't get that sensation. It sounds superb outdoors. Down at the ball though, this feels, or sight-wise, a little bit squished. Okay. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact it's chrome and matte. Yeah. Actually, there's probably not a great deal of difference in the size, but this feels a little bit smaller. And I actually prefer that look because of the size of it. But like, these are impossible to separate. Really impossible to separate. Again, I felt I hit that okay. It says I hit it in the toe. That's the only downside to these clubs, is the lack of feedback.
Your numbers, Lee. How are you getting on?
So pretty similar to you in the averages, but mine's got a bit of a story behind it, as always. Everything I've got a story. So ball speed, faster off the P790. Take deviation into account, pretty similar to be honest. Launch angle around the 20 degrees with both, which I think is pretty good. Spin 6.365. That's where I'd want a 7.9 to be. But these deviations are where the story is being told, and we'll come back to that in a little while. But as an average, I'm pretty happy with those spin numbers. And an average carry 171, 173. Possibly a little bit down on where I'd expect that loft to be, but today's swing day, and that's the numbers I've got really. So we look at the efficiency, more efficient with the P790, so obviously I'm going to get more bang for my buck, because I actually swing the T200 that little bit faster as an average, but deviations make them the same. The loft is 1.2 down on the P790, but there is a loft discrepancy, so it's to be expected. That doesn't feel like I hit it there when I did the test, but it would explain a little bit on why the numbers were down. And that's comes back to a little bit of the difference with these type of irons, is you can feel like you hit a good shot when actually you've towed it, and that's you don't get the feedback sometimes.
You have no idea where you've hit it in the face.
Because I would not have picked that location, but I've hit it there for both of them. But there's a story behind my numbers, Dan. So the story is one shot with each actually, and it is this one with the T200, and the spin came out at 3.3.
And how far did it go?
185 yards.
So a proper low spin bomber.
Low spin bomber. It didn't feel like it was any different to any of the other strikes really when I hit it, but it's, you know, it's travelled 14 yards further than the average. Yeah. Which is a long way really. And the P790 did exactly the same. Came out with 126 mile/hour ball speed, came out at force 2 spin, and then that's travelled 189 yards, and that's 16 yards further than the average. And again, at the time of the strike, it didn't feel like anything was different with them.
No.
There's nothing explainable, is there?
No, there's nothing. So we're looking at the numbers now. I mean, there's nothing really jumping out to us. Maybe the first one, which is the third one down there, which is the T200, come a little bit out of the heel, which you've been toe striking it. So that's a slight difference, but the rest of the numbers look pretty much the same, Lee. And then the last on the bottom
this one
there,
here, 7mm toe, 9 low. That was 7mm toe, 13 low. So we're talking 4.
and there's no real difference in the swing numbers though. The rest of it looks pretty much the same right the way through.
Yeah.
So
And it's not even the fastest club head speeds either. So
No.
because it's low, you'd expect it to come out with more spin.
Yeah.
So there's nothing explainable. That's why that's come out with so little spin and travelled 16 yards further than the rest of them, really.
confusing.
Mm.
So you've got to choose one. Which one would you go for? Hard, isn't it?
Do you know what? I couldn't.
No, it's hard to choose.
It would literally be which one I can get the best deal on.
Yeah. Okay.
And that would be the deciding factor for this, because performance-wise, they're both pretty much identical. Feel-wise, they're identical. Sound-wise, they're identical. I love the look of them both. It's just, I mean, that would possibly sway me towards a P790. But if I got a better deal on the T200, then I'd pick it, because down at the address, I don't see these anyway.
No.
It's impossible to separate. It would literally be down to money on
Shop
this occasion.
appeal on the back then, take that ticky-tacky bit out of it and look at it just simply from a looks point of view. Which one are you picking up first off the shelf?
Probably the P790. Just my personal preference. I loved the look of the P770 when it came out, and I love the fact TaylorMade have gone down that route with this. So this would be the first one I picked out to look at. But if I tried them both, it would literally be whichever one the fitter gave me the best deal on. On this occasion, it would be down to money. And for you, Dan?
Shop appeal to start off with. I'm exactly the same as Lee, really, when it comes to. I would probably pick up the P790 to start off with. Purely, I think that it's just got that little bit of a classier look from the matte finish into a little bit of the chrome on the back there, that little streak. However, the T200 is satisfying to look at as well. I could happily pick that one up as well. I've got to say, when it comes to the Titleist, I've not done a lot with the TaylorMade from a selling point of view, from a shop side of it. So I've done more with Titleist, and I have to say the improvements that I've seen from the T200 from previous models to this one is so much better looking and better feel off the face. The old T200, I just didn't like it. It felt clumpy off the face. I had no idea when I was doing a fit where anybody had hit it on the face. At least when you're fitting this now T200, you can get a sense of it when someone hits it. You can't feel it from my testing in here, but you get a sense of it from a sound. So sound-wise, I think they've done an amazing job. But I can't really say the difference between them. One thing I am massively impressed with both of them on is I was not expecting to get much spin. I was expecting to get proper bomb shots out of these clubs. And I've got to say, the spin improvements that probably both of them have got, I'm very impressed with. And it certainly opens up the door for someone like me who wants spin, wants control, that I could possibly put one of these in the bag if I wanted to, because it gives me that option. So if I was picking one of them, it's very hard. I'd probably go purely on the looks down at the ball. I would probably go with the T200 purely because of the chrome look either side. It enables me to frame the ball up just that little bit more. I think it looks just that little bit nicer looking down on the ball. But there's not a lot in it, to be honest with you. I think if you're a Titleist fan, then you're going to fall into Titleist. If you're a TaylorMade fan, you're going to fall into TaylorMade. So I think each to their own on that. But we would like to hear what you think. Which one of these would you pick? I think Lee's right at the beginning, what he said about the fact that these are going to be two of the biggest sellers this year. I think both companies have nailed it. I think they've done a great job on both products, but we'd like to hear what you say. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing from our videos, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, make sure you leave a comment, and we'll see you all again very soon.